Jesse Jenkins, coming in from New York, and we are delighted and honored to have our founder and host today, and it is Paul Hutchings. He lives in Idaho, where he lives happily married to the girl of his dreams and his 4 energetic boys. He started his freedom journey in a 1984 single-wide trailer house, and thanks to great mentors and the laws of success, has become a top producer in the home business profession. This has allowed him to become job-free, debt-free, and financially free. His main passion in business is to help lead the Freedom Crusade in inspiring and empowering others to achieve their financial goals and dreams in life. Paul brings such energy and such care, and he pours it all in with love to strive to help others learn great lessons that can help them continue the freedom journey. So please, get your pen and paper ready. You know he always brings amazing nuggets of wisdom to the table.
Good morning, everybody. It's Freedom Friday here in life and on planet Earth. Thanks for being here today. Excited to be here as I am every day. You guys are amazing. We are amazing. As Pat Simpson would say, we're awesome and amazing, and the crowd goes wild. And that is true. We are Freedom Crusaders. I was watching a video from Amy Starr Allen the other day, and she was talking a little bit about what is a Freedom Crusader, and she had some great thoughts on that. And I've thought of that over the years. You know, what is a Freedom Crusader? We call ourselves Freedom Crusaders, and I have a little bit of an understanding of the genesis of this term. I was reading from Art Williams, who is a great mentor of mine. If you haven't heard of Art Williams, he's a really interesting guy. He was a high school football coach, and he was not making the money that he wanted to make, and he decided to do something about it. In fact, he did a lot of things about it to try to fix his financial situation. He sold some kind of big copy machine door to door, I think. He talked about selling a bunch of random somewhat useless things and not having success. And then he finally got into the insurance business while he was still coaching football and teaching at high school, and had a little bit of success doing that. But while he was doing what he was doing, he ran into some things that he did not really like. He ran into some situations where he felt like people were not being told the truth, that their futures were being put in the hands of maybe people who were filled with greed more so than care for the better outcomes for people. So he said, I kind of want to do something about this. And so he got together with some other people, and to hear him tell the story, it's like we were teachers, firemen, policemen, stay-at-home moms, this ragtag group of people that got together and said, hey, we're sick of what's going on. We're not going to put up with it. We're going to do something about it. We're going to start a revolution. We're going to go on a crusade. And with that group of people, they built a company that dwarfed all of the other life insurance companies in the world. We're talking about giants, New York Life, Prudential. Some of these companies had been in business over 100 years. And I think this was back in the maybe late 80s that this happened. But this group of just everyday, average, ordinary people got together and said, we're going to make a difference. And they went on and did something amazing, right? So Art Williams, he's got such a great story. And I love, some of his books. He talks about how sometimes in life, and especially in the corporate world, you have this attitude that tends to surface up where, hey, did you go to the right school? Hey, were you born on the right side of the tracks? If you didn't go to the right school and you don't have this fancy schmancy college degree in education, if you don't dress just the right way and you don't talk just the right way and you don't come from the right neighborhood, you can't be one of us, because we're special. We're a little more high and mighty than the average folk. And Art Williams would always talk about how he'd hear that and he'd say, I say bull. That's a bunch of nonsense. It don't matter where you come from. It don't matter what you look like. It don't matter if you're a little overweight. It don't matter if you look a little funny. None of that matters. What matters is drive, determination, grit. Are you willing to do what it takes to show up and win today and keep winning for as long as it takes? Are you willing to do it? You know, he had that kind of a message, and it just really spoke to my soul when I was living in a trailer trying to figure out how to make my life and my financial situation better. And I think maybe the reason a lot of what he talked about in his books resonated with my soul is because he was speaking the truth. He really was. You know, it doesn't matter what your degree is. It doesn't matter if you have a degree. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. You know, it's crazy how in life sometimes a lot of focus is put on things that don't matter all that much at the end of the day. You know, I've got 4 boys, and my wife yesterday was telling me, she's like, you know, Caden, man, he got a 1 out of 20 on this quiz. And she's a little distressed about it, you know. And I mean, I don't want my kids to fail in school for sure. I don't want that. And you know, I'll have a talk with Caden. And hey, you know, and the quiz was on the amendments of the Constitution, which I think are pretty important. You know, so I'm gonna have a talk with Caden and figure out why that happened. But in one sense, my entrepreneur brain was hearing this as my wife was talking to me, and I was thinking, you know, is it important that he understands freedom and the Constitution and amendments? Yes, you know, I think that's important. So the content of the quiz, I think, is important. So I'm definitely going to put some attention there. But as far as failing the quiz, you know, I was just thinking to myself, at the end of the day, none of the quizzes I took in junior high or college, they didn't really matter that much. You know, Robert Kiyosaki talks a lot about this. He says A students end up working for C students. And of course, that's a generalization. You can't really put everybody in a bucket and say this is how it's all going to work out. But his point is that a lot of times entrepreneurs maybe didn't do well in school because they were looking at some of the things they were forced to do and asking themselves, what use value is this? I remember when I was going to school, especially math in high school, I was really not good at math. I did not get good grades in math, and it felt difficult for me to pay attention and to be interested in the subject. And I remember specifically one time in junior high, I raised my hand and I said, hey, teacher, you know, what's the point of this stuff? And the teacher couldn't answer my question, gave me no answer whatsoever. Basically, it was just like, well, we just got to learn it so we can pass the quiz. And that was really unsatisfying. I remember later on in life, as I got into reading and personal development, as we do, and I started reading some material from Thomas Paine. He was one of the founding fathers of America. He did a lot in preparation for the revolution and helping America to get started on a path where we could build a land of freedom. And one of the things that he wrote in one of his books was, math is the language of God. And I remember reading that a few years ago and thinking, wow, math is the language of God. What does that mean? And then I started thinking about how everything can be described in math. Measurements of physical objects all around us, engineering, motion, videos on the internet, pictures on the internet, they're all put together in combination series of ones and zeros. Math is everywhere. The way the planets rotate and the way the universe, everything that we can perceive, rises and moves with mathematical preciseness. It's all math. It's all measured in math. Math is the language of God. You know, and I remember being really just inspired by that and thinking, wow, I could be really interested in math because it was explained to me that way. And maybe had my teacher explained that when I was a kid, maybe I'd have been a little more interested. But the teacher said, you know, we just got to learn it to pass the test. And I think that's the point at the end of the day, is if we're just learning something to pass a test and there's really not a lot of use value to the material, then it may not really be that big of a deal in how successful we are or successful we're not in life. And so, yeah, that's the thing, is like, what is this going to do for me? Is this information going to help me move my life forward, or is it just some silly random thing that society says we have to do, so we then keep doing it, even though when we stop to question why we're doing it, we get unsatisfactory answers. And see, entrepreneurs are different. Freedom crusaders are different. And that's what I'm getting to, right? What is a freedom crusader? And Art Williams, in his book, he said, you got to have a crusade. He said, why just have a business? Why just have a job when you can have a crusade? Find something you can be passionate about. You can be excited about. You can go to bed thinking about and waking up dreaming about, still dreaming from the dreams you had at night while you were sleeping. Excited to go to work. Work, it's not something you dread. It's not drudgery. You're so excited about what you're doing because you're on a crusade. You're doing something that is worth doing, right? So that's where the word crusade came from, is listening to Art Williams and being inspired by him and asking myself, what is my crusade going to be? I want to be on a crusade. What is that crusade for me? And as I thought about it, freedom. I want to be on a crusade for freedom, to build a life of financial freedom for myself. Number one, that's where I was at when I started my freedom crusade. I was living in a trailer, as I mentioned, and I got on the crusade. And you gotta be on a crusade if you want to be financially free. A crusader doesn't go to the daily task and run into something difficult and say, well, I wanted to do it, but man, that thing was hard, so I guess I'll just go back to the farm. That's not what a crusader does. No, a crusader says, this thing that I chose to do is so important that it doesn't matter what obstacles I have to smash through, brick walls I have to break down, mountains I have to climb, rivers I have to traverse, enemies I have to slay, dragons I have to conquer. None of this matters because my crusade is so vital and so crucial that I'm going to get through it all, because the prize on the other side is worth whatever I have to go through. That's a crusade. That's a crusade. What crusade are you on? If you don't have a crusade, you're here today, and we'd love to invite you to be on the Freedom Crusade with us. And our crusade is not just freedom. Yes, and I should never say just freedom, because freedom is a word probably shouldn't have just in front of it, because freedom is so paramount. Financial freedom, being able to live your life the way you want to live it, to have your time freed up to do the things you want to do, to follow your heart, and to have the financial resources to do so. That's pretty important. There's a lot of work to do in this regard, it seems. If you look up savings rates in America, you'll be shocked at how little people save. If you look up debt statistics in America, you'll be shocked at how much people are in debt. And I don't know, maybe there is some sort of conspiracy to keep people enslaved. Maybe this is the new advanced kind of like under the radar form of slavery that the powers that be have over people. And maybe a lot of people are enslaved and not even know it. Maybe it's and I'm not going to say there's a conspiracy. I don't know. I just know that I've read books like The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin, which is a great book. I read that a long time ago, and it was on the history of the Federal Reserve and the banking system. And it does seem like there's some agendas there, for sure. It does seem like there are some hidden agendas to keep people in debt, because it's very, very profitable for the people who are loaning the money. It's very profitable for them if we stay in debt. And if we stay in debt, I think we're easier to control. If all of our financial sustenance is based upon some authority, and boy, that makes it harder, doesn't it, to say what's really on your mind? That makes it harder to stand up for truth, doesn't it? If you stand up for truth and say what's on your mind, then your money will be taken away. That makes it hard to do, right? So if we can be more financially free, we can be less dependent upon whatever authority wants to reign supreme in our lives. And we can instead maybe be more loyal to the King of Kings, divine providence, infinite intelligence, the architect of the universe, I like that idea. We can be more loyal to principles. We can be more loyal to truth instead of having to be loyal to some authority just because they've got some sort of financial scheme that they've placed us in that we feel trapped in. So this vision, this crusade of freedom, it's about more than just being able to buy the car you want. It's about more than being able to just buy the house you want and buy the toys you want. To me, way more than that, Like I look out in the world and I say, what can I do? What can little old me do to make a difference? Step number 1, focus on myself. Do what I can control. Build freedom for myself, okay? Box checked, to-do item on my list checked off. Woohoo! Yay, made it, right? Now what? Help other people do the same. Help myself and others open our minds. Help myself and others get on the path to reading, growing, asking questions, not just accepting surface answers, not being swayed by the popular ideology of the day, but instead reaching down deep inside, finding out who are we really, being able to listen to the messages of the heart and listen to messages from higher places and be able to follow those and implement those in our lives. That's more than just putting a little money in the bank, isn't it? And to me, that's part of this crusade of freedom through principle-centered leadership. So to me, that's what a freedom crusader is, at least in part. And I'm so honored and happy to be one. And I'm so thankful and honored and happy to be surrounded by other people who are also excited to be freedom crusaders. That's you guys, I hope. I don't want to speak for everyone. I can't see everyone who's here, but I know a lot of you who are here, and you're my people. I'm your people. We want to be the change. We want to make a difference, And how do we do it? Again, starts with ourselves. What am I going to do today? What are you going to do today? You've got this little circle of influence. I love this metaphor. Thought about this over the years, When I first learned about some of these things and started seeing some of what seemed to me at the time bigger injustices in the world, I really wanted to do something about it. And so I started doing things, but the things that I was doing started to feel like I was throwing a little pebble at a big, tall skyscraper. And I would throw this little pebble at this skyscraper, and the pebble would just clink and fall down to the ground. And then I'd say, I really want to do something about it, though. So I'd pull another pebble out and I'd throw it at the skyscraper, clink, and then the little pebble would fall down to the ground. And after a while, the quote is, the definition of insanity is continuing to do the same thing again and again while expecting a different result. So after throwing a few pebbles at this big skyscraper, I thought, this isn't working very well. What can I do? So I had this thought. The idea is that, we're all standing at wherever we're standing, and we've got this circle around us. If you can imagine just taking your finger out where you're standing on the ground and drawing a circle around yourself. And this circle, we can call the circle of control. And basically the circle of control just means there are really a limited amount of things in a person's life that they can make a big difference on immediately within their circle of control. The thoughts you think, the words you speak, the actions you take in your day-to-day life, the business that you choose to grow or not grow. These are things that are well within our circle of control. And that means that when we focus on these things that are well within our circle of control, it's not throwing pebbles at a skyscraper. It's grabbing a lever and being able to move boulders because we have lever. In essence, we can do a lot about a small amount of things that are around us. We can have a big, big impact on the things that are within that initial circle. The further out from the circle we go, the less direct influence we can have depending on the strategy that we're implementing. But here was my thought was if I can focus on my circle and I can do the best that I can with what I've got within this circle, maybe the circle can touch other circles. And maybe when they do the same thing, their circles can touch other circles. And maybe our circles, as we're focusing on what we can control, our areas of influence, even within the circle, can expand and expand and expand. My email list gets bigger. Guess what? My circle of influence has gotten bigger. My YouTube channel is more successful. My circle of influence has gotten larger and wider. And we're creating more circles all the time. And so the point, though, is that if we can focus on what we can control within the circle, and we can inspire other circles, and we can all continue to expand those circles together, maybe we can have a big difference on the bigger things we'd like to see change in broader society and in the world. And it goes back to what Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. Don't yell about the change you want to see. No, be the change you wish to see. And as you're being the change you wish to see, speak about the change you're being. Speak about it. Don't be a hypocrite. So many hypocrites out there in the world, talking, yelling, complaining, arguing. What are they being? What are they being? Can we be something good and speak something good? Can we be the best we can and speak the best we can? It seems to me that's the way we create the most change for ourselves and for the people around us and maybe the world at large.